Of all the motorcycle organizations in the world, the Hells Angels are probably the most famous, or should that be infamous? Ever since they formed in 1948, they've been attracting controversy, getting on the wrong side of the law, and making all kinds of mischief they'd be too ashamed to tell their mothers about. Yet despite their reputation as troublemakers, they're actually sticklers for rules. Anyone who wants to wear the official Hells Angels vest is expected to abide by a fairly extensive list of guidelines, and woe betide anyone who decides they're above the code. If you want to join the Hells Angels, don't bother asking. There's no application form, no formal process, and as the FAQs on the official website say, if you have to ask, you probably will not understand the answer. Your best option for getting in is to make friends with an existing member and wangle an invite to a hangout, an invitation-only event where inducted members get to check out prospective candidates and work out who'll be a good addition to the gang and who won't. If you come across some Hells Angels gear that you think would make a stylish addition to your wardrobe, think long and hard before you start wearing it around town. Hells Angels members don't look kindly on civilians who wear their sacred vests, and neither do they think too much about members who eschew official merchandise in favor of cheap knockoffs. They're not shy about dishing out retribution either, so think twice about dressing like a Hells Angel if you're not one, even if it is Halloween. It goes without saying that what happens in Hells Angels meetups stays in Hells Angels meetups. No matter what tasty piece of gossip you pick up about another member, share it at your peril. So seriously do Hells Angels take their collective vow of silence, they won't even talk about members who've disappeared. If someone suddenly stops showing up at meets, don't breathe a word of it to anyone else, you never know who might be listening. Like the Musketeers, the Hells Angels live by the motto of one for all for one. Whether they like it or not, they're also obligated to live by the laws of the land, meaning that if they get caught riding or behaving illegally, they stand just as much chance of being pulled over as anyone else. But timid cops might want to think twice before exercising the power of their badge. When one member gets pulled over, all of their brothers will pull over too. Ostensibly, it's meant to be a show of solidarity, but if you're the police officer on the receiving end of 100 Hells Angels hostile stares, you might be more tempted to call it a show of intimidation. Let's face it, the Hells Angels don't have a reputation for being squeaky clean. Throughout their existence, they've made trouble their business. Yet surprisingly, the one thing they haven't made their business is drugs. Whereas certain other motorcycle gangs have become as closely associated with the drug trade as with bikes, the Hells Angels have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to illegal substances. Members are strictly forbidden from using them or selling them. If they're caught doing either, they can kiss goodbye to their membership. Hard though it is to believe, not all Hells Angels make the best role models. According to rumors, some have been known to engage in all kinds of naughty things, which, as you'd expect, can occasionally get them into trouble with the law. When it does, the rest of the Brotherhood is expected to keep their lips sealed. Any Hells Angel that passes on incriminating information about a fellow brother or the charter can expect swift, harsh retribution. You might find a few links to other websites scattered around this page. What you won't find is any link to the official website of the Hells Angels. Why? Because we're scared. The club doesn't take kindly to anyone, members or otherwise, linking to the site without prior written consent. And even if you get permission once, don't bank on it lasting forever. If they decide to, the club can withdraw the permission at any time. There's a very good reason why the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club is such a mysterious organization. Its members make a point of keeping it that way. They're notoriously tight-lipped, refusing to share anything that happens in the club with anyone outside it. They're particularly disinclined to speak to the media, mainly as a way to protect their image and safeguard their members. Most Hells Angels have regular lives, regular homes, and regular jobs, but you wouldn't know it from the amount of time they spend on their bikes. But whereas some people like to ride alone, Angels like to ride as a group. In the same way that they're very particular about their clothes and their codes, they're also picky about the formation in which they ride. According to Grunge, the chapter's fearless leader always leads the procession. Up next will be the vice president, followed by the road captain and the sergeant of arms. After that, it turns into a chaotic free-for-all, with the rest of the members all jockeying for position. It's doubtful many police officers would want to risk their reputation by becoming a Hell's Angel, but in case there are any, we've got some bad news in store if they can't. There are certain things a Hell's Angels charter simply won't accept, and a police uniform is one of them. Prison guards can also forget it. Even if you never became a fully fledged officer, if you took any steps to become one at all, there's no chance you'll ever get into the club. Child molesters and rapists are also banned, although for very different reasons. Once you join the Hells Angels, forget about ever leaving or retiring. It's one of the reasons the process of joining is so intense. The club wants to make sure that all of its members are committed enough not to want to back out a few years down the line. The only way you can ever hang up your badge is if you go against the rules, although, given the consequences of doing so, it's probably best that you accept your lot and plan on being an angel for life. The Hells Angels do more than just ride bikes. They throw events, lots of them, and as a member, you're obligated to attend unless you have a very, very valid excuse not to. Unless you're on the other side of the world, in hospital, or dead, failure to show up to a meet will be taken as a sign of serious disrespect. And if there's one thing you should never do to a Hells Angel, it's show disrespect.